Welcome to Colonial Sports Center. My name is Colby Sherwin, and alongside me, as always, Kevin Plaucha. Kevin, what do we got tonight?
Well, the football team took a road trip. The soccer and volleyball teams look to continue their winning ways. And the basketball teams have a little bit of a surprise for us with both schedules dropping.
Very excited to talk about those schedules. And Michael Deemer is here to break down some more football talk with you. But we're going to kick the show off with soccer today. And the women's soccer team has continued their dominance with the best start in program history. Last week, they won all three of their games with a combined score of 13-2, Kevin.
Wow.
They opened up Horizon League play versus Green Bay. Last year, the teams tied at 1. Let's see if they can open up conference play with a win. And Kevin, they ended up with a tie today. It was a very close back and forth game. What were your impressions of the game?
Just a very close fought, well-played game. And, another tie, Colby. They've been doing that a lot lately.
As you can see here, the Colonials tied with the Phoenix. 5 total shots for the Phoenix. And Emily Murphy with 1 shot. Haley finished with 1 shot. 17 for the Colonials, continuing that dominance. Paloma Swankler had 4, and Gabriela Luciano had 4 shots as well.
Yeah, the team's been playing a lot of really good defense lately, holding a lot of teams to 0 or 1 goal. It's just something that Coach Shaw likes to capitalize on. He wants to capitalize on all the opportunities that are given, and, just this time they weren't, unfortunately, they weren't able to do so.
And we'll hear more from Coach Shaw later, Kevin.
That's right, and earlier this week, actually on Sunday, the women's soccer team looked to continue their winning ways against the UMBC Retrievers. Let's see if they were able to do so. Now, Colby, they did win this game by a score of 1-0. There was a really, really nice goal. Oh, here we are. We have the highlights right here, and we're going to pick up the action in the 15th minute.
Bit of a surprise there with Cam Wickler. We have some technical difficulties for Cam Wickline for you.
That's
He'll
right.
be back a little bit early, but as you were saying, it was.
We were picking action up in the 15th minute. The Colonials were on the offensive. They had it down in the far corner for most of the game, and the ball makes it to the middle of the field. Haley Finale tries to score, but she's unable to. The lone goal here actually comes in the 37-minute mark. Actually, it comes at the 30-minute mark. It has Paloma Swankler in the corner. She gets it in the middle and finds Kayla Velosa-Lima for actually a really nice goal, kind of an alley-oop, one-time type situation. And that's actually the only goal of the game. The Colonials win by a score of 1-0 and continue their unbeaten streak.
Now, as we were talking about, the women's soccer team is off to their best start in program history. We had Cam Wickline put on his football boots, as Ethan Morrison loves to say. And he broke down what the teams have done well so far. Cam, let's kick it.
The Robert Morris women's soccer team is off to the best start in program history. Colonial Sports Center talked to Coach Chris Shaw to get his thoughts. The women's soccer team is off to a 5-0-3 start to the season. This is the same program that has struggled the last few years, but Coach Shaw knows that Rome wasn't built in a day.
It's been a 3-year process to get here. It's not something that happens overnight. And again, we're a long way from a finished product, right? We're still young and trying to get there, but I feel like we're making strides in the right direction. I think we've gotten better, each of my 3 years, and hopefully that will just continue moving forward.
One noticeable difference in the team this year from years past has been an embarrassment of riches off the bench. With 2 of the top 4-point scorers on the team coming off the bench, Coach Shaw knows that there is no drop-off when his starters need a breather.
Yeah, that's been the biggest difference for us this year is just the depth that we have. Gabby can come off the bench and make things happen. Kayla Velosa-Lima's come off the bench and scored some goals for us. Paloma comes off the bench and gives us energy, as well as a number of other players that we can utilize. So from that standpoint, having depth is always huge.
Goalie Isabella Bolin has been a stalwart in net all season, allowing just 4 goals in 8 games, good for half a goal a game. Coach Shaw said that having a good goalkeeper does more than just keep the other team off the board.
Yeah, anytime your back line has confidence in the goalkeeper, it's a huge boost. Bella's been fantastic this year. She's playing with confidence. It does make a huge difference to have a presence back there and some leadership and someone that the players feel confident with them behind them.
Despite the early season success, Coach Shaw says that there are still things to work on. The best start in program history is nice, but Coach Shaw says his goal is to have the best finish in program history. When asked what his team can do to raise a trophy at the end of the season, he had this to say.
I know what we can do to give ourselves the best chance is, we got to start finishing our opportunities, right? Like if we're going to outshoot a team 17-5 and 9-1, we've got to put a goal away, right? We've got to finish our chances and just got to start being a little bit more clinical in front of goal and taking the chances that we create.
The women's soccer team tied Green Bay today with the score of 0-0. They look to continue their success against Milwaukee next Sunday in Milwaukee. With Colonial Sports Center, I'm Cam Wickline.
Thank you, Cam, for that. Now we're going to switch side to the men's soccer team. They are not off to a great start. They are 0-3 with losses to West Virginia, Duquesne, and Xavier. They're looking to get their first win of the year, and they were looking to beat Northern Kentucky. Let's see if they could finally get off the schneid in this one. And we're going to pick it up at the North Athletic Complex Center here early on. And Kevin, watch this play by Darren Armstrong. He's going to get the pass here, and then he's just going to kick it around, whoop, and then go split the defense, little curve, and then just toss it in the back of the net. Kevin, I don't even know what to say with
Just
that.
a bunch of white jerseys there. It's surprising that nobody could stop him, but still a really nice goal to open the scoring. We got to look at that again.
Now, I wonder if we're going to see this on top 5 plays, but look at him just dump it in the back of the net.
I mean, it was just too easy for him.
Too easy. Let's move on second half now. Chase Gilley, who you're going to talk about a little bit later, is going to toss it in here. And Hugo Kadima is going to take it, and he's going to move around the defense a little bit here, and then just whoop, in the net, back of the net. 1-1 game now, and they're finally looking like they can get a win here, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a nice goal, and the team's celebrating. It's nice to tie the game up and maybe win this thing.
Now watch this. Kelvin Ramirez, he's going to get it over the back of the net and run around the net. You'd love to see celebrations like this, Kevin.
It's not often you see someone run around the back of the net, but you have the entire team celebrating. It's a mob scene down there.
And as you see, the Colonials finally get a win. 2-1. Kelvin Ramirez with the game-winning goal, and they're 1-0 in Horizon League play.
Now the Colonials were able to get that first win and outlast the Norse. Our very own Bethany Naughton sits down and goes a little bit more in depth on that first win and what it means for the team. Bethany, take it away.
The Robert Morris women's soccer
He's there. We're going to get Bethany Naughton up there for you. But Kevin, what are we thinking so far with 1-0 in conference play for the men's soccer team?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're going to win games, make them the conference games. And a certain someone got Co-Horizon League Player of the Week thanks to his performance in that game. And his name is none other than Chase Gilley. He had 2 assists, and they were on both of those goals. And he was actually named the Co-Horizon League Player of the Week. And, you know, Coach O'Keefe's always talking about you earn your opportunity, and he certainly has. And you earn the reward based on what you put out on the field. And he's earned his reward, Offensive Player of the Week, Co-Player of the Week in the Horizon League, the first one of the year.
Yeah, he's been putting a lot of good product on the field, and though they haven't been winning a lot of games, it's been in close games back and forth, but finally getting off the schneid, 1-0 conference play, and now they're doing pretty good.
That's right. Well, when we come back, Michael Deemer helps break down some football, and we see if the volleyball team can continue their winning ways. Stick around on Colonial Sports Center.
The death of George Floyd, who died in police custody Monday night.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have done to start this foundation. It's going to take more than just us, you know, as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to help us make a change, because it just can't be us.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. Now we're going to head over to some football for you, as the football team is 0-1 as they fell to Dayton in the first game of the season. Now they were looking for a win. It took a bit of a long drive to Oxford, Ohio, home of the Miami of Ohio Red Hawks. And I'll break that game down for you right here. Let's take a look and see how that went. And it did not go well, 31-14. Avon Smith passed for 155 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kevin Davis rushed for had 5 rushes for 63 yards. Anthony Chickett passed for 138 yards and 2 interceptions. He was knocked out of the game with a big hit. Jake Simmons did replace him in that one, and Dylan Smith had one reception for 75 yards, second play of the game. And let me just tell you, Sam Goldberg was by me as we took the trip up there. He was going wild on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Just unfortunate. The quarterback play didn't seem to live up to what we thought it would, and the Colonials fall to 0-2. Michael Deemer now joins us to talk a little bit more in depth about this Miami of Ohio loss. Michael, first of all, thank you for joining us.
Michael's going to join us in a little bit.
Oh,
He's
a
getting
little
a little ready for us. Oh, there's
Michael. There's Michael Deemer. Michael, first question for you. Did either quarterback show improvements? We're talking about Anthony Chickett and Jake Simmons.
I mean, I didn't see any improvements, but also didn't see any regressions either. I mean, we did see Chickett throw 2 interceptions in the first half, so, I mean, definitely not what you want to see there. But he also did not play a bad game either. He did get a little bit banged up in the first half, so Jake Simmons took his place. Jake Simmons went 8 for 13. I believe, he went 8 for 13. He threw a garbage time TD to make it 31-14. So I definitely don't think it was improvements, but I also didn't see any regressions either. Definitely, probably plateaued a little bit since the Dayton game.
So I wonder if this next question also kind of aligns with the fact that they were facing off against a MAC team. Where has the running game been with Elijah Jackson and company?
Elijah Jackson has definitely struggled a little bit ever since probably the last part of last year and going into this year too. He has 66 yards on the year after the 2 games, and he has an average of 2.5 yards per rush. So definitely not what we want to see in the Colonial favor, but it definitely has been a struggle for the rushing attack the entire season, and maybe a little bit parts of last year too. And what it was supposed to be his breakout season, Elijah Jackson was supposed to be.
Switching sides now to the defense. Michael, the team gave up 31 points to Miami of Ohio. Did the defense take a step back in your opinion?
I definitely think that it was a little bit of a plateau again for the defense. The defense, obviously allowed 31 points to an FBS school, which I believe is an improvement from last year. They allowed 45 against Central Michigan, so I definitely believe that it was a little bit of a maybe improvement since last year, a 31-14 game. Coach Clark said that there was no moral victory when it came to that game, but in my opinion, I definitely think there was.
Well, Michael, thank you for joining us, and the Colonials football team falls to 0-2. And if you want to catch some recaps of the football team and all of the other athletics programs on campus, then go to colonialsportsnetwork.com. All of the writers and editors have you covered. They provide a platform for student-produced sports content, including previews, recaps, podcasts, and feature stories for everything about RMU athletics. Colonialsportsnetwork.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at RMU_CSN.
Thank you, Michael, for that, and Kevin, nice toss, by the way. When we come back, we got volleyball. Volleyball was in the action as well, and a couple of spring sports are in the headlines. Find out why right here on Colonial Sports Center.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. We're switching gears to the hardwood as the RMU volleyball team was in action, and they took a road trip to Moorhead, Kentucky to compete in the Comfort Invitational as they took on the North Alabama Lions in the opening match of that. Let's see how they fared. And as you can see, they continued their winning ways, winning 3-1. Allie Crispin with 16 kills. She's really coming into her own lately. And Abby Ryan with 24 digs. Katie Floyd with 13 kills for the Lions. And Elif Ozsoy with 3 aces and 30 assists the Colonials were able to take down the Lions by a score of 3-1.
And as Kevin was just talking about, the volleyball team started the Morehead State Comfort Invitational with a win over North Alabama. Next up was the host Eagles of Morehead State. Let's see if they took flight and won another one. And they did. They won 3-2. Abby Holzman had 20 kills. Bridget Bressler had 53 assists. Allie Chrisman is having a heck of a tournament, Kevin. 20 kills, 2 aces, and Elena Carmody had 28 digs.
Now the Colonials were looking to go for a sweep in the Comfort Invitational as they took on the Quinnipiac Bobcats in the final match of that tournament. Let's see how they did. And they went with the clean sweep, 3-1. Annie Monaco with 15 kills and 13 digs. I feel like she's kind of been the leader of this team all season. Abby Powers with 6 blocks. Alexandra Tenen with 16 kills and 1 ace for the Bobcats. And Dan Lagunez with 35 assists. Colonials sweep the Morehead State Comfort Invitational. Now, our very own Ethan Morrison sits down with first-year head coach Danny Doherty to talk about the volleyball team. Ethan, take it away.
Well, it's been a process since the beginning. We didn't know how we were going to end up through preseason. Through 3 weeks, we're actually doing quite well in comparison to where we could be. So those are big positives. But we just didn't stray from the path. Like we lost the first 2, and we knew that those were games that we could have competed a little bit better in. And then we had we had Albany, and we played arguably our best match of the year against them. Really put them in a place and didn't stray from the path. Even when we took the L against William and Mary, we just got back on the horse and kept moving, and here we are. Oh, it's been great. Tilbay's been an unbelievable asset to us as a program, and she's helped set that culture. And it's just understanding that it starts at the base, and just reminding them. And you stray from it, we take a break, and we're like, hey, this isn't what we're supposed to do. This is what we are about, and we just kind of move from that baseline. It's inevitably going to happen that you take some lumps and you stray away from it, but as long as there's a constant reminder of what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to do, it's pretty easy to live through that culture.
Thank you, Ethan and Danny. Now, as we all know, the men's lacrosse team is known for sending players to the pros, and our first pick for lacrosse analyst Maddie Kerrigan broke down who made the NLL draft. Maddie, take it away on Saturday.
Thanks, guys. As you heard, Robert Morris Men's Lacrosse is historically known for their players getting drafted into the National Lacrosse League. This past Saturday, the NLL held its 2022 entry draft. 5 Colonials were selected within the league. 4 of those selections came in the first round. The first of the 4 to be selected in the first round was 5th-year midfielder Will Johansson. Johansson was selected 7th overall for the Albany Firewolves. Next up was 5th-year defenseman Owen Down, who came in at 15th overall, selected by the reigning NLL champions, the Colorado Mammoth. The Panther City Lacrosse Club next selected Colton Lidstone in Fort Worth, Texas. The 5th-year midfielder was selected 21st overall in the entry draft. The last pick in the first round, also a Colonial, was a 5th-year attackman Taggart Clark, who was selected 23rd overall by the Philadelphia Wings. Matt Duncan, who transferred into the Robert Morris program from Scarborough, Toronto, was selected in the 4th round, also by the Albany Firewolves. As the draft concluded on Saturday evening, Robert Morris was again well represented at the 2022 NLL entry draft. These 5 draftees will join a list of RMU men's lacrosse alum in the NLL next year. Now let's send it back to Kevin and Colby.
Thanks so much, Maddie. We're going back to the hardwood as the Robert Morris men's basketball schedule was recently announced. Let's take a look and see who they will play and when they will play them. There's the non-conference schedule. Big game here, Colby, at Ohio State November 7th. I know it's going to be a big game. They went to Kentucky last year. Now they're going to Columbus this year. At Dayton, the Colonials just faced them in football. Now they're going to face them in basketball as well. Central Michigan, Marshall, Mount St. Mary's, the big rival, former rival from the NEC. St. Francis, you have the Mercer on there, Evansville, Pitt Greensburg.
I was going to say.
It's a very nice non-conference schedule for the men's basketball team.
I was going to say, as a man who was born near Greensburg, I'm looking forward to seeing if they can handle their business there. But Columbus against Ohio State, a very big game. If they can pull off the upset, 82 and his Colonials, they'll be off to a good start.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to switch side to the women's basketball team. They finally broke through and hosted some playoff games last year. Now let's look at their non-conference schedule. Of course, you got to start out with St. Francis, George Mason, Waynesburg, D3 school, Wheeling Jesuits, Akron, Canisius, West Virginia, and Oklahoma, which are 2 tough games, Kevin. Winnable, but going to be tough if they do that, and State Bonaventure, and some news as well. So Castro will be out for the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be tough to win some of those games, especially at WVU and at Oklahoma, 2 Power 5 schools, and without Sol Castro, it's going to be tough. Well, when we come back, it's time for Top 5 Plays, and we're going to be talking just a little bit more football. Stay right here on Colonial Sports Center.
Do you want to meet a family with a transgender kid? Here we are. Max loves to do backflips. Max loves to play his ukulele. Max loves to just be a kid and just be himself. When I found out I was pregnant, all I really wanted was a happy, healthy, whole child. And that's what I got. I think it's really important for people to know that trans kids don't have a political agenda. They are just kids. Like any parent, we love our kids unconditionally, and we will never stop fighting for them. Stand with us. Protect our families.
Wait! You're in the toilet!
No, don't do that. No.
Don't hit your brother! Ooh!
Not again!
I tell you about playing in the mud.
Raffy, not so close to the pool. Wait! Frankie, happy. What are you doing? We told you never to touch the gun!
I'm sorry, I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
You could have hurt yourself!
Safely store your guns. Unload, lock, and away from ammo.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. And as I said earlier, we were going to show you some more about the Miami of Ohio game. We have some technical difficulties, but that's okay because we have it for you now. As I said, the drive up to Oxford is 5 hours long. And how would I know that? Because I was there with Sam Goldberg and Michael Deemer. So let's break down more of the Colonials matchup against the Redhawks. Let's take it away.
Nothing quite like action, and last weekend the Robert Morris football team got a chance to compete in some as they took on the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. The Redhawks claim to be the winningest program in the MAC, and when you head up to Yeager Stadium in Oxford, Ohio, you will see it boasted all over the stadium. The proud history of the Redhawks is shown all over the stadium, from conference title years, bowl game victories, and retired numbers, including Ben Roethlisberger, former quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Redhawks truly show the history they have in their stadium. The action began in the first quarter with a slow burn of a quarter, as the Redhawks began the game with a field goal.
Nicholson's kick is good.
The Colonials answered with a 76-yard reception on their second play of the game, and then punched it in. The Redhawks answered back with a touchdown to go up 10-7 at the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Redhawks took flight as they added 2 more touchdowns. The quarter only got worse for the Colonials, as with their second-to-last possession in the half, quarterback Anthony Chickett took a big hit. He played one more drive, but would never return and had ice in his arm and a sling the rest of it. JUCO transfer Jake Simmons would take over in the third. He would take some shots down the field, but never connected for the end zone. The defense showed up, played well, and shut out Miami in the third quarter. The Colonials had one more shot to pull off the upset. In the fourth quarter, not much happened as both teams would score. RMU scored on the final drive of the game as a muff putt set the team up. Goliath would not fall to David on Saturday as the Redhawks won 31-14. The Colonials have a bye week this week, but will be back in action on September 24th as they take on Eastern Tennessee on Parents Weekend. For Colonial Sports Network, I'm Colby Sherwin.
Colby, that was a great in-depth look at the trip to Miami of Ohio. Now, like you mentioned at the end of that, the Colonials do have a bye week, and with some of the injuries they've sustained, especially to Anthony Chickett, I think they're going to need that week to rest up and come back home and face East Tennessee State. What do you think?
Yeah, when we talked to Bernard Clark after the game, he said it was time to rest up and heal. He liked what he saw a little bit, some things he wanted to work on, mostly offensively, but he was pretty proud of the match, of what the Colonials put on the field. Also, Avon Smith, who was the quarterback, is not actually the starter. Blake Gabbert, who was the starter for Miami, Ohio, was hurt against Kentucky. That was Avon Smith's first career start.
Wow.
He looked pretty good.
Yeah, he did look pretty good. Now, with the Colonials, there were a couple offensive flourishes, you would say. A pass to Dylan Smith over the middle that got them just inside the 5 that would eventually allow for a punch-in. But, I don't know. Like, the run game definitely needs to improve, like we talked about earlier with Michael Deemer. But definitely a good bye week. It's always good. You can rest up and come back stronger than you were before.
Yeah, it's always a good time to have a bye week, especially now. But I think they're going to get it going in a little bit.
I think so, too.
Now,
well, Colby. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Now it's time for the top moments of the show for the top 5 plays of the week.
Absolutely. Top 5 plays of the week. The best part of the show. Number 5. We're actually going to go to Yager Stadium. Miami of Ohio has a 17-7 lead. Avion Smith, Colby just mentioned it was his first start of the season. Well, this pass sure showed it, because where was it going? Into a sea of white jerseys. Sidney Audiger, and he's going to return this past midfield. As you can see, he gets a slew of blocks, and it goes past midfield. Just a great defensive play for the Colonials.
He was fired up when he got that interception. But I talked about this earlier. Watch Darren Armstrong go. A little dipsy-do for him, and he'll knock it into the net. 1-0, and NKU. And Kevin, this was so nice. Watch. Make you go the other way, push it on skates and score.
It's so nice. We've had to see it twice as we move to number 3. Back to football. Anthony Chickett fakes the handoff, and he throws it over the middle to a wide-open Dylan Smith. And he is going to, hopefully, if you were a Colonials fan, you were hoping that we would go all the way. But he's just marked down at the 2. It would eventually result in a Colonials touchdown.
He looked back a little bit in the run, and that's what kind of got him caught. But back up to the North Athletic Complex Center. Paloma Swankler's going to give it to Kayla Velosa, and she's going to score. The Colonials will take a lead. And look at this pass, Kevin.
Yeah, just an absolute beautiful alley-oop, one-time goal, whatever you want to call it. Just perfect. And goalkeeper looked like she ran into the crossbar there. Hope she's okay. Number 1, men's soccer corner kick makes its way into the middle, and Kelvin Ramirez scores to break the tie. The Colonials would hold on and win 2-1 and get their first conference win.
Now, I know before the show we had looked at the top 5 plays, and we were a little upset that that 79-yard reception was not number 1. We talked to producer Nathan Breschinger, and actually he made a good point. Those 2 goals were game winners, and that's why they're above the reception.
Yeah, very true. And, you know, I think it would have been a little bit higher if Dylan Smith had actually made it into the end zone. Like you said, that look back might have cost him a couple of yards, and that's what stopped him from getting in the end zone.
Now, how about we take a look at what games we think you should watch this weekend, Kevin?
Well, I think the women's soccer team is of note as they travel to Wisconsin to take on the Milwaukee Panthers on Sunday, September 18th at 2 p.m. They look to continue their unbeaten ways. Haley Finale, I mean, you can't not have her as the player to watch. 3 goals, 8 points this season, leads the team. And my player to watch for Milwaukee, sophomore Kayla Rollins, leads the Panthers in goals with 4. Colby, what about you?
Now I'm going to keep it in the women's sports. The volleyball team is off to a really great start, and I think you should watch them. They'll be at the John Wolf Pope Convention Center in the Buies Creek Invitational, in the Comfort Invitational. Player to watch is Annie Monaco. She's been the leader of this team. We were talking about who's going to replace Emma Granger. 90 kills, 2.81 kills a set, and she has about 110 points this year. And a pretty big tournament for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's really nice to see the resurgence of this. The RMU women's soccer team, the RMU volleyball team. You know, the men's soccer team gets their first win at Northern Kentucky. And, you know, despite the football team losing, there were still some signs of life, especially against the MAC opponent. You know, it's hard to win against the MAC opponent.
I really liked what I saw from the defense. Bernard Clark has that defense right where he wants it. I think they're putting a lot of pressure. Avon Smith did not look comfortable a lot in the pocket. He had a lot of time sometimes, but when they brought the pressure, they got to the quarterback a lot.
That's right. And, you know, we saw that one pass on the top 5 plays, that interception. You know, defense has done a really good job. Michael Deemer talked about it earlier. The defense has done a good job, but, you know, the offense needs to get going a little bit more. And I really like to see Elijah Jackson. I apologize for forgetting his name. Elijah Jackson, he needs to get going. This team could be more of a ground and pound offense, but, I mean, Bernard Clark, there's no moral victories. I think
this is a moral victory.
I think the game against Miami of Ohio was a little bit of a moral victory. QB play aside, hope that the QBs can get some rest heading into the bye week.
Yeah, and we talked about the inconsistent play calling last year. I think it's still a problem, but we're going to move up to the men's soccer team. Congratulations on finally getting their first win of the season and a big one in conference play. And they'll be Saturday at Milwaukee trying to go 2-0 Horizon League play. What do you think they need to do to get a win?
I think they need to give the ball to Chase Gillymore. I mean, the co-Horizon League Player of the Week, 2 assists. I think he's the one that you kind of want to build this team around for Saturday's matchup.
Well, thank you so much for watching Colonial Sports Center. For everybody upstairs, down here, he's Kevin Plaucha. I'm Colby Sherwood. We will see you next week.